I can follow up, Steve. Our concern is that you really are going to be stepping into a mess, a serious one. And one that you said that you could not raise enough revenues to get out of. You talked about changing the culture. Could you talk a little bit more specifically about some of the maybe out-of-the-box policy ideas you have, which will both fix the mess, but also move forward the reNEW Minnesota agenda?
Sure. So in fixing the budget deficit, I said that controlling healthcare costs is critically essential. And that, you know, the Republicans have created this sense that you can't control healthcare costs unless you engage in rationing and create death panels, right? So that's not true. We can control healthcare costs by keeping people healthier. I visited a nursing home up in Osakis where they said, we want to create a move to a wellness and prevention model. So they added a fitness center and a trainer to their system, and they're actually moving people out of the nursing home because they're making them stronger. And they've got 270 people who are in the community who are participating in that so that they stay out of the nursing home. Boy, that would be a great model to have across the state. In Wisconsin, they do county-by-county health statistics. So we could actually track racial health disparities, but we could also track overall county health. So instead of focusing on health care, we focus on health and what we can do as a community, as an state, to help people be healthier and reduce our healthcare costs.
Thank you. Our last set question is from, thank you.
My name is Paul Sobosinski. I'm a crop and livestock farmer and a rural organizer from southwestern Minnesota. I have worked on ag issues at the Minnesota legislature since the 1985 farm crisis. Over that time, I noticed at the state capitol increasing dominance of metro-based corporate agribusiness and commodity groups. Checkoff-funded commodity groups like the pork producers have been co-opted by corporate interests and no longer put family farmers' interests first. What is happening at the farm gate during this period of time, family farmers like me have to do more for less. We have a state legislature that even with a DFL majority does nothing to stop this. Now, one bright spot for family farmers and the land has been increasing demand for food that is sustainable and organically grown on family farms. So what happened last session when the overall ag budget was cut by about 8%? Democratically controlled legislature led by the DFL ag chairs, along with the governor, cut key organic sustainable ag programs over 70%. Question, what will you do as governor to put the interest of family farmers before corporate agribusiness? What skills, background, and vision do you want your ag commission to have?
Okay, so I don't forget about it. Let me try to answer that second one first. I mean, I think that the next agriculture commissioner has to be a champion for a variety of farms. I mentioned my commitment to issues of diversity. I think to have a successful state and to have successful rural communities, we need to have more diverse kind of agriculture instead of this increasing concentration of power, increasingly larger farms. So we need a commissioner of agriculture who will promote the success of all kinds of agriculture, and especially the small and new kinds of farms that sell directly to the consumer, and the CSA movement, and also making sure that we have locally grown foods that can supply our schools. Back about 8-9 years ago, the Hopkins schools hired a hotel chef to actually take over the school nutrition program, and he started baking bread and then getting the kids involved in baking bread and doing more fruits and vegetables and fewer pre-packaged kinds of things, especially the overly cheesy, overly fatty kinds of things that are bad for issues of obesity and things like that. And he was having trouble finding locally grown sources for that. And the good news is that we've made progress on that, but I believe we can make a lot more. And the other, I tried to find some Minnesota grown heritage turkeys a couple of years ago, and I went to the Minnesota Agriculture website, and there wasn't any promotion of Minnesota grown heritage or organically raised birds. We're first or second in the country in raising turkeys, and we don't have our own approach to this stuff. So that's the kind of commissioner of agriculture that I would have. I also think it's, I mean, besides the ag component of rural life, I also think it's important to help farmers be successful business people, to help make sure that there are jobs off the farm as well. And so it's one of the reasons that from the beginning of my career in the legislature, I've been fighting for making sure that we have a high-speed internet infrastructure that runs everywhere in the state in order to provide opportunities for new economic development in rural areas, and to make sure that schools and hospitals and other community entities in greater Minnesota have access to the whole global economy through telecommunications. I think it's a combination of what we do for agriculture, small-scale agriculture, and these other infrastructure things that we can do to support rural life.
I have a follow-up. I appreciate the specific example of, again, trying to get the product to people in Minnesota, and I think there's a larger question that needs more specificity sort of begged in that, and that is, what priority as governor do you place on sustainable and organic agriculture? And I would like to hear specifically, too, just who do you trust in ag issues?
Well, I actually trust the farmers who are doing innovative kinds of things. I was up in Polk County and visited with some folks who are trying to do locally grown beef and a variety of other things up there, and they had challenges working with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. Those are the kinds of folks and folks in this room that I would be talking to. Once again, I ask opinions of people all over the place before I can get my ideas about what we ought to do. But also, if we're going to protect the environment for the future, one of the biggest challenges that we have right now from an environmental point of view is the pollution of our lakes and streams. And farmers can be a part of and have to be part of that solution. They start off as many of the small scale ones anyway, start off as our original environmentalists because of their interest in sustainable agriculture. And we've got to especially using legacy money, find a way to continue to work with more farmers to be more protective of the land and make sure that sustainable agriculture is consistent with our environmental values too.